freezing up. Fuck.
Is this the intro? I guess it's the intro. That's what usually happens, right?
Yeah.
Nothing will top
We
our
say,
last
like-
outro, though.
Yeah.
I'm still like cracking
Nothing.
up about that.
Oh, we're supposed to ask people to leave a review.
Oh yeah. Oh, did we get any? I didn't even check.
Please.
That'd be interesting.
I'll check.
Yeah, dude, I saw like the numbers were actually like up. I forget if you sent that to me after the last one. I think so, but yeah, numbers are up. So people are tuning in. People are getting on the TFSR bandwagon. So hello, people.
We've had something like 20% growth month over month for the last 3 months.
Crazy. I don't even know what's going on because I feel like I'm not putting any dude, I haven't made a YouTube video in the longest ever right now.
I mean, we've gone from like 30 to 45 to 55.
Yeah, but like
no,
it's significant.
yeah, we're still at 19 reviews.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on right now because like I told you, like my email list is growing and I don't know why either. Like I don't know. People are finding us somewhere that I cannot pinpoint what's going on. Like my website traffic's the same. My YouTube is like down. I mean, I haven't posted a video in a month. I haven't posted like anything on Facebook or anything business related or anything on Instagram yet. Like, I don't know, like I'm getting newsletter signups every single day and TFSR seems to be getting some listeners off of that.
Dude, how does it feel to not post on YouTube for a month?
You know, I have like such a back and forth with YouTube. It feels good and bad. Like I definitely, my first inclination is to kind of like beat myself up and be like, oh, it's like such an opportunity. Like I got to keep it going. I got to like keep trying. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, if I had like unlimited money right now, like I would, and stuff like that, I would just be like, yeah, like let me just take a even longer break. But it just seems, it's something that I feel like I should be doing. But you know, I go through crazy like momentum shifts with YouTube. I'm so bipolar about it. Like some days I'm like, this is all I want to do and I need to like, you know, multiple videos a week. And then I'll like just hit a rut where it's like, nah, I'm not even going to think about YouTube for a while. And yeah, right now I'm like there, but hopefully soon I'm going to, you know, get back on a routine. I still think it could be
it's
a
hard.
big thing.
Okay, yeah, it's just hard to do it if the mindset is I should do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. You're totally right. I would just like, I know that there could be a way where I would love it. Like if there wasn't, then obviously I would just like be done with it. It's just like finding that right rhythm someday of like, oh, like things are actually going well with it. And like, I'm making content that I want to make. And like, I think someday I could hit like the right momentum where then it would be like a major focus or maybe, you know,
I think if you were making,
podcasts.
if you were making the, I don't mean to sound preachy. I think if you were making the videos that you really loved, then it really wouldn't even matter how many people were watching them.
That's true. But that's the thing is like, I don't see it as like purely a creative endeavor. Like I see it as an opportunity too. Like honestly,
I think that's
like
the problem.
Yeah. But I mean, isn't that kind of true of any of our businesses though? Like even if we love the business, like we still see it as an opportunity. Like I think
there's a,
go ahead. No, it's just like, I'm not at the level of purely only going after like passion and stuff like that. It's like, I think it's okay to also think about opportunity to some level, but yeah, I also don't even know what would I make on YouTube right now if there was guaranteed 0 ROI from it? Like probably nothing.
It's an interesting thing to think about, the passion versus opportunity.
It is, because at the same time, I feel like, you know, at this stage, it's just crazy to do something that you don't care about at all. Like, for sure. I'm totally on it. Like, dude, just with like RSNV lately, like the Porsche parts brand that we have, like it has not felt like work. It's crazy. Like I can just be like thinking about it 24/7. It's like so much fun. And I'm like, I forgot business could be like this. And so now it seems insane to me to just do something that's like, you know, only on the opportunity side of the spectrum. For sure. It seems like insane. But at the same time, it's like doing a crazy time consuming project that has like no sort of like ROI. It's, you know, it can be tough, but you're doing this right now.
I guess what I'm saying is like, what do we define as opportunity? if it's not what I enjoy.
I think it's just like I mean, look, I definitely enjoy elements of it, and I enjoy it. It's just like, you know how like the momentum for me has been on YouTube for a while, that it's just like that
Yeah.
kind of like sucks the fun out of it sometimes. But you know, like at the same time, like I think starting YouTube was like one of the best things I've ever done, like in so many ways, like just in my own personal growth in a way, and you know, opportunity definitely came out of it. It definitely changed things for me a lot. It can also just be a bummer when you like put a lot of work into something and then it like you kind of have some expectations for where it could go and then it like doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably think of
I don't
it
know.
too much ROI based.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wonders if you were thinking about it less ROI based, if it would have blown up.
I don't know.
I'm not saying it would have, but
Yeah.
that's the formula that seems to work.
I think I started that
For
way,
me.
but then it just like, you know, you hit walls, and then like
Yeah.
at the time, like the stuff I like wanted to make, just I knew it would seem so irrelevant to the people I had already got. And now, right now, honestly, I just feel like why would I even talk about anything? It's kind of like what we were, I think, talked about on the last podcast, or in that email that was that week, like just like the prescription content. And like I just kind of feel like, who am I to like say anything sometimes, like about like I just think there's something like different about YouTube versus podcast generally. I'm sure some people on YouTube do it like very chill style, but like YouTube just comes across like, hey guys, like here's the right way to do things, and like here's what I did that you should do. Whereas like podcasts are like, let's hang out and talk.
I mean, YouTube is just sound plus video, and podcasts are just sound.
Yeah, but there's a different
There's a culture to
there's
it.
a
You're saying?
culture. Yeah, there's like, dude, like even I do it, even though I'm aware of it, and everybody do it. You point a camera at someone, you start recording, they talk different, they do everything different, you know, like they like perk up and they talk a little more loud and clear and like articulate, and it's like you can tell when somebody immediately becomes not natural. And I think almost nothing on YouTube actually comes across like, oh, this guy's just talking to me. It's always like,
That's the exact opportunity.
Hey, camera, like today I'm talking about this, and like you're gonna like steps, like watch to the end of the video for, you know, it's just like all this stuff instead of just like some real person on the other end of the camera. And it's like really hard to just completely be like chill to a camera.
It's like, if you look at the 1940s actors, they're like, I left my keys in the house and I'm gonna go and get it. Like they
Yeah.
just like talk in a strange way because they're so afraid to just be vulnerable on camera. And even the people that were at the very top of we can be ourselves still couldn't fucking talk normally with a camera there.
Yeah,
And then over time, the actors started to talk normally. And now we have actors, and it's even more real than real life. And it's hard, but if you're able to just forget about the camera, I think that's the key to the art. And that's why nobody does it, because it's really hard.
I do think it's really hard with camera, and like also kind of like the culture on YouTube is like talk loud, talk fast, be clear, like, you know, points, boom, 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 like hit all the things. Whereas like, you know, when there's like a community on YouTube, whereas if you get there and you just talk like the way we're talking now, and you're kind of like dragging on, like then people will be like, oh, this guy like never gets to the point or something. Like
Who is people?
viewers, like comments, like, because which is fine, but I think the point is there's like people kind of expect YouTube to be like a polished product, not just like a vulnerable conversation. Like they're going there for like for like content, not just for, you know, passive like conversational stuff. So I do think for YouTube, like things have to be a little more like created rather than just like on the fly. I think it's just the culture of the platform.
I think it's just important to say, what do I want out of this? And then to try and think, well, what do I want? And then just figuring out how to get that.
With YouTube,
Just with any of these projects, like
Yeah.
what do I want? What do I want? Why do I want it?
I don't know.
It's easy to avoid that. You can answer it or not. Like, up to you. You know.
I mean, I can like, I'm happy to like think through it. I don't fully know for sure, but I guess it's just, I think it would be, I think it's just based on like seeing the people that we admire and look up to, and just thinking that, seeing like the way that platforms can be used positively and like attention can be pointed to things. There's something extremely attractive about that. You know, the Tim Ferriss effect, like Tim Ferriss mentioning sardines and them selling out nationwide or something like that, or like, you know, just being able to like
they're gonna sell out now that we mentioned that.
I know. I just, yeah. But being able to like light fires for small companies or for ideas, you know, look at Tim and psychedelics and like all this stuff. And like, I think a huge reason or anybody is able to do those things is because they have like a platform, a following. Like, it's not like I'm talking about like followers and Instagram. Like, I definitely don't care about that stuff, but like, I think it's great to like have a tribe of like-minded people. Like,
it's a leverage for your own mind.
Yeah, I like how you put that. Yeah. So, yeah, I just think it would be interesting to like have a voice. Like, there are so many people, almost everybody is only consuming and not creating. And I think somewhere around 3 years ago, I switched from, or maybe more if you argue like becoming an entrepreneur makes you on the creative side, I guess, maybe. But I feel like I went from like, I'm consuming all this stuff. Why am I not on the other side of the fence of this equation? Right. So yeah, I think, yeah, just being able to like point attention to things, to also, it's just fun. Like, I think, like, how fun would it be to like, I think Joe Rogan has like the best job on earth. Like, I think like, yeah, if I could just like have an interview style podcast like Joe Rogan and have it like bring in like enough money that I never need to think about money again or whatever. Like, dude, I would just like interview like one super interesting person like every week, and just like I would probably like forget about anything else except like passion projects and stuff like that. But like, I think that if that could be the thing that was like a big core thing, that I just think it'd be like the best job in the world.
Yeah, I don't know. I think about that, and I feel like there's two sides to it. And Joe Rogan, like, on one hand, it's really great that he just says how he feels, and people follow him, and that impacts a lot of things. But he probably can't go anywhere without, "You Rogan, what's up?"
Oh, totally.
Like, you know, and that's probably the better side of it. But then also, there's people that are calling him like a white supremacist for his views and a fucking Nazi and this and that. And people just, they hear your words, like, I listen to Joe Rogan and like, I'm sure he's not right about everything, but you piss a lot of people off when you have an audience that big, especially if you don't censor your own thoughts with it. I don't know. I think it's a lot of energy, or it's just a lot to be able to carry.
Fully agree with that. Yeah, Tim Ferriss has a great article about that. I think you read it too. It was like something about like the downsides of fame or something. I'm sure if people Google that, like, honestly, like, I loved that article. I thought it was one of the best things I've read in a really long time.
It is.
Yeah, no, optimally, I wouldn't want to be Joe Rogan, but like, if I could, like, say you could be like a 1% Joe Rogan. Like, what if you could have like the 1% focused section of Joe Rogan's audience that is like you, and like, you're not talking so broadly, but, you know, and you're making 1% the money that Joe Rogan's making, but that's probably still like an insanely high amount. That would just, yeah, that'd be great. But yeah, no, I don't. There's definitely there's definitely some negative returns of being famous. I fully like. I don't think I don't want to be famous. That would freak me out, I think.
I guess maybe what I'm trying to get at is like we can't judge success by the reflection of success, which is having people follow you and stuff. Like that's just a reflection. It's like I would much rather like the followers is like what you have, but that's not what you do. That's just a reflection of what you do, and that's a outcome of what you do. But I think that alone is just hollow. Like I really think it's hollow. I think on the flip side, if you're doing whatever the fuck you want to do, just if it comes up from this like, if I'm doing whatever I want to do, and if it comes up from this like natural desire to do something, then whatever people think of it, they will or won't, and whoever follows does or doesn't. But
Yeah.
I just don't want to do it in a sense of, oh, I think this is going to get people to like the content, because then I'm just going, I don't know what's in their mind. I only know what's in my mind. And if I produce what I think I want to produce, then I'm going to have so much fun with it. And if I really do that and not think about the other people, then it tends to happen that people are like, oh yeah, I totally see what you're saying. I relate to this.
Yeah. No,
That's how I think about it. I'm not trying to push that on you.
No, I love it.
But it's just interesting to, okay.
It definitely like reminds me, like I feel like we've done this in a lot of episodes, is like, I think I just don't like sit down and think about like why I'm even doing it with YouTube. I think it's just like, I kind of like made a commitment a while back and like haven't fully like revisited it. And it seems like I haven't even considered like fully giving up on it, for example, but like maybe that's on the table. I don't know. Like maybe it is just kind of a dumb thing to even chase.
Well, it's not a dumb thing to chase. It's just what is the reason for chasing it, and then that'll give you, as long as you know the reason for chasing it and the reason to not chase it, then your answer will probably be pretty clear.
So like dumb for me, like maybe it doesn't make sense for what I want. Like maybe I'm just doing it. Like I don't know. I mean, you see it from the outside. Like, do you think
what I'm saying is that you want to like? I was on one of the Aubrey Marcus. Every month there's like a Zoom call with him, and you're on maybe with like 10 people, and I said, I've been just getting overwhelmed with work recently, and it's just like it's even soul sucking to a point where I just like there's so much of these tasks like accounting and this and that just like I can't stand doing, and it's just soul sucking. And I said that word probably once, not twice, but his response was, we have to be careful with the language that we use, because the language that we use has such an effect. And like if you say something like soul sucking, then it's like it's your decision what to do this. And it's like nobody can let your soul be sucked other than yourself. You know, that's in your control. And it made me think of it. I was like, yeah, that kind of is my choice. So it's like you really want to be careful of the language that you use when thinking about this stuff.
I feel like can you break that down like a little more? Like by calling the tasks soul sucking, are you saying like you're making it soul sucking? Like the tasks, like it's just like your attitude towards it that now you're making the task worse than it is? Or
he's just like, I think he was basically saying it's in your control. Like if your soul is being sucked, then stop letting it happen, Sam.
Yeah, true.
That's what I took from it.
Okay. So like still do the task or think about outsourcing it, but just don't let it ruin your day, kind of, right?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't say still do the task or think about outsourcing it. He just said don't let your fucking soul get sucked. And I was like, yeah, that's the heart of it.
Damn. I feel like I'm not like 100% processing it, to be honest. Like,
okay. Like, the heart of it is like, if this, like, it's not the task of accounting isn't soul sucking. Mm-hmm. Me feeling that accounting is soul sucking is soul sucking.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, I define that. And if I'm talking like work is soul sucking, then I'm the one that needs to change something.
Yeah.
He was just like, I think what he was saying is like, if it's not working, then change it. And like, you've got to be careful. I don't know. I'm doing my best.
No, I follow. It's like,
yeah.
It's even like anything. It's like you're like when you react to something negative, it's like the thing that occurred is just a thing, but the only negativity is in your reaction to the thing. Like that's like a big, like, I feel like there's a lot of like Marcus Aurelius quotes like that where, you know, like you really only are your reaction to it, right? Like whether something happened is bad or good is only up to your mind.
Right.
But
yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. I could definitely use that advice too. Cause yeah, I can feel like YouTube or other projects that I'm still running can feel pretty soul sucking. But I'm doing better overall for sure. Like, I mean, the fact that I like added even like one major project that is like fun is such a game changer. It's like insanely different.
Yeah, man. How does it feel?
It just like working on RSNV right now just doesn't feel like work. Like there are tasks for RSNV that like I would have been putting off for other businesses and just like procrastinating, but like when it's for RSNV, I just like have that like momentum and hype right now, and it's like it's really kicked up to like a new tier. And I mean, it's still a small, relatively new business, but like it's really like shown me what it could be in the past like month. And I think like for a while, like probably there's even proof probably on this podcast is like, yeah, I'm doing this like RSNV thing. It's like a fun little side project. That was probably how I used my words to make it what it was. And I think by saying it was a small side project, I like believed it was just a small side project. But now I'm like getting a hint of like, wait, like this could actually be a lot bigger than I thought. Like this is not, you know, some like $1 billion like venture capital. Like it's still like a relatively like a small project, I think, but like, oh, like, you know, this could still be something that maybe makes like me and my partner like $1 million a year. Like maybe, like, you know, it's not going to be the biggest business in the world, but it might not just be a small side project. Like I think that I've been like kind of downplaying the potential of it.
What do you think it is that causes other people to downplay the potential of like a new project? Because you see it happen a lot.
I think I did it. Well, I could answer in this case and then in general maybe, but in this case, like it was just, it's kind of like I kind of wanted a small side project. I was like, I just want to do something that like isn't even really fully about the money. Like I don't think it's going to make a whole lot, but it seems like a fun project and it'll be really like it's in a space that I love. Like I just wanted to do it like kind of no matter what was really my attitude towards it. So like I think the reason that I framed it as small is because like I was actually really happy with it just being small. And I never really had big like financial expectations for it. So that's kind of why I chose to frame it like that. I think that's probably different than why most people do it though. I think it's probably just like limiting beliefs and, you know, thinking that like they can't possibly build something that's big, you know. I think that's probably more prevalent, but with this I was just kind of thinking, you know, like I just want to do this anyways. This seems like fun. Like maybe this never makes us any money, or maybe it makes us like $5,000 a year, but like, let's just like try it and see what happens. You know, that was really like my attitude going into it.
Yeah. It reminds me of our attitude going into the podcast a little bit.
Yeah.
Like we've just got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And going into that with that attitude, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to be a huge new success as like measured by numbers, but you do enjoy it. Bless you.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, there are for sure
sneezing on the podcast, Matt.
Hey, I went away from the mic. You're hearing it through this mic, but I went away from the main mic. I feel like that's never happened on TFSR before. Have we ever?
It hasn't.
Have we ever sneezed?
There's no. We would have. Yeah. Maybe.
Podcasts are ruined.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but that project is just like giving me energy. It's so much fun, and like now we're getting really ambitious with it. Like we're working on like second product. We're probably going to open pre-orders in like a couple weeks for the second product. So that's going to be really awesome to have more than just like one product brand, you know?
Ooh.
So that'll be cool. And then we've got more in the works.
God damn. If you're releasing the second product in a couple weeks, you want to say what it is, or
I can say
category?
what it is. I mean, people won't know, like, people won't even like know what it is really, like if they're listening. Well, I mean, if anyone's like, so it's also for the GT4. GT4 has the wing stock, right? We already did the wing risers that raises the wing. On the side of the wing, there's like these like end plates. There's like these like vertical slats on the side of the wing. Like that's just like the shape of a spoiler, right? Like it's a long thing in the back with like these like plates on the ends. Can you kind of
Okay.
picture it?
Yes.
Okay, so we're redesigning the plates at the end, and it completely transforms the look of the car.
That's sweet, dude. And you know who your customers are going to be. It's going to be a much easier sell on this one than the first one.
Oh, dude. So much easier. We're going to start it with like just offering it to our existing customers at like a little pre-launch thing. Like, dude, it's like, I'm so confident in this one now. It's like ridiculous. Dude, and then I'm like, so I'm researching this really interesting marketing strategy. There are like data services. You know, there's like these data companies that have like demographics on people. It's like the same way that you get like mailings when you like, you know, change your car insurance. You get like a bunch of like offers. Like, you know, there's like just these data points on people, right? Like, I mean, same for Facebook ads, right? So you can get car registration information like through some of those services. Like you can buy like the data, like who, like,
Right.
like every car owner in the US or something, and see like what car they have, all of that. And I'm basically trying to bridge the gap of like, how do we reach owners of very particular cars? Because that's not something you can just like do a Facebook ad for, right? Like it's too specific. So I'm looking at these services and like pulling VIN numbers, because you can pull a VIN number. Like VIN numbers are fairly public, right? It's like a identifier of like, it's like a serial number of a car, right? A VIN.
Mm.
So you can look this stuff up. You can get like a whole list of VINs or whatever. Like basically what we can do is take all the VINs of the exact model of the cars that we want to market to, potentially like get the owner data that is tied to those VINs, and then either do like mailings or upload it into Facebook audiences, like directly on the owners of particular models of cars. And I'm like, holy shit, like I don't think anybody in the car industry or anything is doing anything like this. Like, I just can't imagine that that's like a common practice, right?
I mean, it sounds like you wouldn't really know either way, but I think it's a great strategy. It sounds like it.
Yeah. So I'm working on that.
And it doesn't matter if you're the only one. Like, it's worth trying.
Oh yeah. No, I know it'll work for us,
Yeah.
but I was getting ahead of myself. It's because I already have the idea that like, dude, this could be like a marketing service, because this is like the most obvious way for like any like aftermarket car part or like, you know, repair shop or like whatever thing. Like there are obvious things that could be marketed to owners of specific cars. Like, so then I'm like, okay, like, so what if there was like a company that, you know, makes like wheels for Teslas or something. And it's like, well, what if we could like, you know, target owners of Teslas with like a picture of like their car and like the wheels, you know, like, it's just like way more targeted than any, like, I don't think people are doing it at, like sophisticated things like that I think the auto industry is just like way behind in terms of all that stuff. So I don't know, like maybe that in itself could be like a business. Like that's probably going to be like my business idea of the week in the email this week. I'm like, dude, that as a service could be massive, I think. I mean, like big.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like it would work. I mean, you've got to try the ad first, because you never know until you try it, but it seems like it would work. I don't know. Sometimes I just get overwhelmed with all these business ideas that like could work.
Oh, totally. I've got so many.
Like there's so many. Like it's just there's too many to do, and I almost feel powerless even thinking of them. But I think of one, write it down, move on. It's all just about. I mean, it's about ideas and execution, but I think over time your ability to have ideas slowly increases, and your ability to execute slowly increases.
Yeah.
But your ability to execute is more utilized than your ability to have ideas, because over time I think you have to implement a lower and lower percentage of those ideas.
Totally. I think ideas are great, and I think it's fun too, and it's just like a good framework and mental model to practice for me. But like Gary Vee would say, like ideas are shit, execution is everything. I think ideas are extremely important, but you obviously need execution. Like ideas aren't shit without execution, but ideas are definitely not shit, but they are shit if they're not executed. But yeah,
it's
go ahead.
it's like nothing has ever existed if you can't visualize it first.
Totally. Yeah, and that's why I've been doing like the business ideas every week in the email. It's like fun to like keep my idea muscle going and then just like throw them out there into the world. Because like you said, there's too many to do. Like at this point, how many ideas have I just like even just put out there that like would work? Probably. But it's just like, you can't really execute all of them. But yeah, like this one could work, but we're at least going to try it for us and then like, maybe see what we could do. And then I feel like you would like this. I actually might need to ask you like off the podcast because I'm trying to do like a little bit of like data scraping and stuff for this, but that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So I thought this would be cool is that like when you can also like run the VIN and get data about the car. And so for example, you could see like, oh, this VIN is like a blue Porsche GT3, right? And then I was like, okay, so if we had a product for GT3, not only could we like directly target GT3 owners potentially, which is already like mind-boggling, but like what if like you had a blue GT3 and you got like an ad that was like a blue GT3 with like the product on what looks like literally your car?
I see what you're saying. I'm interested to hear the results.
I feel like it'll be super cool. Dude, so another thing about this that I feel like is a cool framework for us to talk about, because I'm applying this a little bit to RSNV. I don't know who said this. I think I was listening to the My First Million podcast, which is like my favorite podcast over the last like 6 months. Like it's almost the only podcast I've been listening to actually, because all they do is like the spitballing business ideas thing. It's incredible. If you haven't listened to it, you would love it. And they were talking about some guy, one of like the really famous like venture firms or whatever, like had this line. He was saying like why, like what is the biggest unsolved problem in your industry, and like why are you not the ones trying to solve that? Like if you're doing something in your industry, like why not be trying to solve the biggest thing that needs solving in your industry? I think it's a really cool framework because it's like so easy to just kind of like do like the obvious thing, but there are these almost obvious big ideas that seem hard that everyone seems to not try to do. If that makes sense. So the way I'm thinking this in RSNV is it's like, so far, like we've done products that are like relatively like, or at least in the plans, they're like iterative. They're like products that like make sense. They're like not going to blow anyone's mind. Like they're amazing. Our customers are ridiculously happy and stuff, but it's not like paradigm shifting. Right. And so we were thinking about this and it's like, there is something that would be like paradigm shifting, like never been done before. Like, and now like we're starting that. I don't want to reveal, but, it would like completely, like it would make us literally like the coolest aftermarket Porsche brand in existence if we pulled this off. Like it would probably get like freaking like press and like crazy shit. And I think it's a cool framework. It's like, why not try to go for the biggest problem? Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean there's a lot in there. I don't think there's any reason to. I think you should just go for what you want. Like you're thinking about like left and right. Like, but if I do go for a big, and then there's gonna be like this, and then like I'll be super cool. It's like I think if you want to build it, then you should build it, and it shouldn't matter if it's the biggest problem or the smallest problem. It's like, well, how do we judge if something's a big problem or a small problem? It's really just all what you see. So throwing away what everyone else sees as a big problem or a small problem, whatever you think. Maybe I'm just saying it in different words, but whatever you think is the biggest problem, why wouldn't you solve it? Why wouldn't you try? Because it's going to take a lot of time, and maybe you don't have to do it. It's like, I just think like, I don't know, like, I'm just like do whatever you want. Like, I don't even know what my thoughts are, but it's just like, why not try your best?
Yeah. Totally. So maybe it came across too prescriptive to go back
and
to.
And maybe I didn't understand it. Yeah.
Maybe it's too prescriptive. But like, I guess what I mean is like, imagine it's like 2008 and like your business idea is to start like a local taxi cab company. And that's like your business idea. It's like, okay, but what's the biggest problem in that space? Like, well, what if we could do like, what if basically the idea for Uber? Like, it's kind of just a way, it's a framework for thinking of like bigger ideas. Like what is the unsolved thing that would really change the game? Right. And it's like, why just like do something that is like, I haven't read the book, but I'm guessing it's kind of like the thesis in the book 0 to 1. It's probably like the same thesis that I'm getting at is like, why not like reinvent something completely instead of just like, oh yeah, like we're just doing this other thing like a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you how I think about it. I think it comes down to just releasing this false assumption that's so common in the world that we have arrived at the solution. Because if you think that you've arrived at the final product, then you're not going to be thinking it's still a work in progress, and you're not going to be thinking about ways to make it better. So if you're always just trying to make it better and just, it's humility. It's like, maybe it's not perfect, because then maybe I can make it better. And I think as long as you're doing that, like, you can't just like pull the magic idea from thin air. It's just like, you have to try and think of it, and then, oh, I just pulled the magic idea from thin air. Well, fucking, like, did you? Or is there another one? Like, I think people just get so uncomfortable with the uncertainty of having ideas that you want to just like, all right, this is the idea, and I'm going to quickly draw a box around it to make sure that it can't get out and that nothing else can get in. It's like, well, fuck, you limited it that way. So I think it's just, I see it as just like, do your best and then assume that you can do better.
Yeah, I think like the point of going for the biggest thing, I'm trying to think of an example because I feel like it'd make it more clear, but like,
please.
I mean, the Uber example, but like, I don't know, say before phones were cordless, you were like in the phone industry, and like everyone, every year they're just like, this one's like 3 gigahertz instead of 2.8 gigahertz, and like whatever, I don't know if that makes any sense, but then like everyone in the industry kind of knows, like, wouldn't it be amazing if this thing didn't have a cord? Yet like probably for a while none of the companies were working on it because they're like, oh, you don't, like, that seems kind of crazy, like we can't possibly like make these things without a cord. So it's like, I feel like for years it goes on that like they're just kind of like iterating on the same design, and then eventually there's like a dramatic shift. Like there's a problem that's just like looming that I think a lot of companies can be like afraid that like they all kind of know like, oh, like if we could do that, that would really be the next thing. But yet it can seem like too daunting. So still not a great example. I wish I had another.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think that you might overestimate how clearly people in the company say, oh, if we could do that, then that would be a huge product. Because I think that even saying that almost implies that you might end up doing it. So I think people more just avoid the thought entirely.
Yeah,
and maybe it's in the back of your mind that this would be a way to make it better, but it's just like, it's a matter of identity shifting. And if you are just comfortable and you know how to fucking, I don't know, brush your teeth every night, then even if this new method of like going like tooth to tooth, like bottom to top, like even if that's gonna like revolutionize the game, then you're probably just gonna be like, fuck that, I'm just used to the way things are. And that's what keeps companies stagnant. And I think that, I mean, companies get started through the make it better mindset, but I think that very quickly, if the money starts going in, people just start to stop evolving.
Yeah. So I just think it's like a good thing to keep in mind is like, you know, and like maybe you still do the iterative thing, because obviously completely changing a game can be like expensive or risky and all of that. But yeah, I just think people play it really safe with this stuff.
Yeah, we live in a world where fear rules most decisions in the big system as a whole. Yeah. And I don't know enough to say why that is, but I think I never look at the way that it's done by most companies.
Yeah.
Like, if it doesn't make sense, then there's no reason to do it.
Like, I love, like, the Steve Jobs model. Like, here's an iPhone. It's totally different than everything else. Or, like, here's like, the mouse, right? Like, that's a complete paradigm shift of how, like, a computer is used, right? Or, like, an iPad. I just like these bigger. I'm just
It's
trying
not
to
bigger.
like,
It's just better.
Yeah, I'm just trying to apply this model to like any business I'm thinking about right now. Is just like, what if this was 10 times better? Like, what would just make everything that is currently out be completely like obsolete?
Dude, I guess what I'm saying is I think it's just so simple. I think that the only thing that's limiting the 10 times better this and that is the thought of like trying to think of it in relation to the previous thing. Because if you're thinking of it in the relation, if you're thinking of it in relation to the previous thing, then you're going to be thinking of it in terms of the previous thing. But if you put the previous solution completely out of your mind and think about what is the problem? What is the problem that I'm solving? What is the actual problem? Why do people use this deep down? Why do they use it? And what technology exists in the world today? And then if you have those things floating around in your mind, sometimes it'll just click together and maybe it won't look anything like the past solution.
Totally. And I do think sometimes people have like the what if idea, but they don't know what technology would be needed, or maybe the technology doesn't yet exist. But, I think a lot of times those things are still doable as people figure them out. I mean, that's how crazy shifts are made. Yeah.
When it comes down to it, if you're looking for a reason that it won't work, you do not even have to be that creative. You'll probably find one very, very quickly, and you'll be, all right, it's not going to work. But if you're looking for a reason that it's going to work, you'll probably have to look a lot longer, but you'll probably also find one.
Right. Like, what would
Put
this
that
look
on the
like?
fortune cookie.
I would eat that fortune cookie.
Would you eat the paper too?
I would roll it up really small and put it in a random cup on my desk for 7 years.
Like put it inside of like a little pill capsule and roll it up and then swallow it. Like you become like a little Build-A-Bear.
Yeah. It's definitely a good framework for people to keep in mind, though. I dig it.
Yeah. I mean, and the reason I feel so strongly about it is because I feel it in myself and I see it everywhere. It's like you want to do a solution that people are going to like, and you want to it's easier to do it in relation to something else to feel like you're not floating. But
yeah,
I don't know. I've just made a decision in business that I just want to do what makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then I'm just not going to do it. Whether that's a marketing tactic or a way of designing the website or just whatever it is, or a way of talking. Like, I'm just going to make what I want to make. It's been, I don't know, building the Bitcoin guide has been such a fun, interesting process of trying to, because I've been trying to do that with Bitcoin. Like, I know what the problem is, that nobody fucking understands Bitcoin. And then what are the possible ways to maybe explain it, and just thinking of it as just one section at a time, and where does it still not make sense, and then doing that and whew, like, it looks completely different than any Bitcoin guide I've ever seen, but it's also exciting because I read the Bitcoin white paper. I researched like how does mining actually work, and I even found out I didn't understand a lot of it, and I've been learning about Bitcoin for years and I still didn't understand how the mining actually worked. Mm-hmm. So then understanding how that process works and trying to reverse engineer it to simpler words has been quite a process.
Dude, it's going to be incredible. It really is going to be incredible. Honestly, like, even when you first said, like, yeah, like a site that like explains what Bitcoin is, it's like, all right, like, sounds cool. But like now I feel like as it's evolved, I'm like, oh, holy shit, like you have a way of communicating this stuff. And like that conversation we had the other day, it like opened my eyes much further into like what Bitcoin is. It's so misunderstood. It's completely misunderstood, actually.
Yeah.
Like I think
it's like,
I don't think anybody actually understands it.
Nobody does. Yeah, like it's crazy. It's crazy to have such a revolutionary invention that's been around for over 10 years, that tons of people put their money in, that nobody really knows what the fuck it is.
Right.
Some people do. You know what I think it is? I think that some people, maybe like maybe this isn't even an exaggeration. Maybe like one in every 400 people that, not that's heard about Bitcoin, that owns Bitcoin, knows actually how the thing works, how the system works. You maybe have an idea that it's decentralized, but not like how the mining works or everything. So it's very like, even if you understand most but not all of it, you're still going to have trouble trusting the thing because you're putting your money into it. So you're going to have trouble trusting that your money's actually going to be secure. You want to know how it works with the technology. And it's not enough just to say, trust us, it works. You've got to really understand that. So I think that what happens is there's this small minority, the one in every 400 people or whatever, that does understand it. And then, oh, fuck, I got to tell all my friends about this. And then your friends are like, yeah, it sounds great. And they kind of tell a few friends. And over time, the message gets muddied up because the people that don't understand it are passing it on. So
it's like telephone.
100%. Yeah. And I think that, I'm just like so inspired to create a resource that can allow people to understand what it is, because I am fucking tired of feeling like an outcast or feeling like political for talking about Bitcoin around people. And it's just enough. Like for a while it's just like, all right, whatever, like they're just not into crypto. But it's like, it's so idiotic the way people talk to me about crypto sometimes. Like, your mind is just not open to it. If your mind was just open to talking about it, and you didn't, oh, Sam's telling me about a new currency, I take it as a personal attack. Motherfucker, no, it's not that. It's just that I'm trying to inform, and some people aren't open, so I don't take it personally. I try not to.
Yeah.
But I think a side effect of Bitcoin is that maybe I'm wrong, and maybe this whole thing is going to sound funny in 5 years, but I think a side effect of Bitcoin, if it all continues to progress, is that the people that are open-minded enough to see it are going to make some money on it. And that's not the goal, but it's a side effect.
Totally. All of it. I don't think you're overestimating. I think even out of Bitcoin owners, I think only a tiny percentage like has the faintest real clue like what it is, and like I have like a moderate clue what it is. Still not a full understanding, but I feel like I think this ties into like the problem of why the perception got messed up the way it did, to where people will feel like, why are you telling me this? Is like, I feel like crypto in general got a bit of like a brand problem.
It's like a penny stock.
Yeah, it got a brand problem when it like blew up in 2017. Like, it just became like, this like weird, like sketchy investment for people. It was like this thing that like the hustlers got into it, and like, everybody in the world was like doing some like blockchain startup, like ICO, like it just got real sketchy real quick. And that doesn't mean like the fundamental core of it is at all sketchy or at all unsafe, but it definitely like, it got like a problem with like, it got like a culture problem for a bit.
Yeah, dude, this is somebody in 2017 describing Bitcoin. It's like, this is a new money and it's cryptographic ledger, but it's used to be used by drug dealer, and like they got hacked for $40 million, but it's the future, and then it's decentralized too. So there's a ledger on computers. It's a public ledger, and the miners are getting a 12.5 in 10 minutes, and you can just send in, you press in the address, and it's just, you really should buy some.
Yeah, and it went up 10% in the last 10 minutes. So it's almost too late to buy some, actually.
Oh, this is
like
back in
FOMO.
2017. Yeah. It's like, by the way, it's up.
You're like,
if you had put in $1 on Tuesday, you'd be a trillionaire by now.
Yeah, and then I feel like everyone was like walking around, like all like the crypto hustlers were like, they had like $100 in like some random altcoins, and they were like, like in their like Instagram profile was like blockchain investor.
Oh my god, yeah, people really fucked up the image.
It really got
it.
fucked up, dude.
It's like almost like a MLM or something.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. It got very like MLM, and like that really messed things up, I think. And I think that's why like people might be so quick to be like, it's like when you start talking about Bitcoin, yeah, it's almost like when somebody tries to start like selling you something. Like, oh, I thought this guy was cool. All of a sudden, he's like trying to like recruit me for like selling knives or whatever. It's like this just
like if I'm walking down the street and someone's like, "Yo, how's it going? You just look like a really friendly person. Have you heard about Jesus?"
Yeah, exactly. Except you replace Jesus with Bitcoin, and it's just like, like I don't want to hear about Bitcoin. It's like this stupid like online like scam. Like that's like the general perception. That's a problem. But I think like what you're doing could be really powerful, because I think like your way with words and explaining and just like simplifying is like something that it really needs. Do you want to get into like any like specifics? Like I feel like I would love to just kind of like talk through like some of the big things that like, even like how I was bringing up the other day. It's like well, how can it be like, well, if it's so volatile, like how can it ever kind of be like something that's spent or like saved? And then like another thing I was thinking a lot again recently is like, you know, like when you are even like you, Sam, like when you're so hyped about like Bitcoin, is it really that you're hyped about crypto, or is it that you're hyped about Bitcoin? Because that's what I like do you like, how do you kind of value like the whole thing versus like the individual Bitcoin?
Maybe we should just start at the ground level to try and understand what is Bitcoin, and then we'll start at the bottom, and then at any step of building on top of that, if it doesn't make sense, then let me know.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, and I'm gonna try and remember it from like the structure of the website, but we'll just talk too. So Bitcoin is a new type of money, just like the US dollar or the British pound is a currency. Bitcoin is a new currency. The difference, however, is that in Bitcoin, inflation works differently. I would say that's the main difference. Specifically, there's not one person that can inflate the money supply and then decide what to do with it. Because right now, the government, I'll explain how that works in a second, but basically, the government prints money and then the government gives that money a destination. But in Bitcoin, it works differently. So we can get into exactly how it works, but basically, the collective, anybody with electricity, has a share of the money printer proportional to the electricity that they're contributing to the system. So how does it work? Interrupt me at any time, by the way.
Go. Makes sense.
Great. How does it work? It's like email in a sense. So like, if I send you an email, you're gonna get it. But and nobody can really stop that. So email is sort of uncensorable in that way. But Facebook, on the other hand, or Twitter, any of these centralized platforms, they can take your post down. They can decide what's okay to say, what's not. But email is not a company. It's just a protocol. So whatever you send is going to get there. And there's no content policy for email. So in that sense, Bitcoin is that, but for money. So you just have your address, and if you send it, it's going to get delivered. It's apolitical in that sense, that you just send money and it gets delivered. And it's okay. So how does the money printer actually work? So in government, our current currency, the money printer works such as the government will aim to print 2% of the money supply every year, and that money supply is given to banks who primarily loan out the money. So if they're printing 2%, then the banks will loan out the money, and then businesses or whoever can get loans, and then you can get that loan, but you have to pay it back. So basically, inflation is able to be taken as a loan from the government. So you have to actually, the new inflation, it doesn't just get pumped into the economy. It's a loan that you can take and then pay back. I think the phrase inflation is money getting pumped into the economy is kind of misleading, because it's really like the worm on the end of a fishing thing, and they're going to pull it back eventually. Bitcoin, on the other hand, and I'll get through this and then we can like talk a bit and then I'll go more into how it works. But Bitcoin, the money printer, works entirely differently. So another thing, so with any money system, you need somebody to keep the balances. They need to know how much I have, how much you have, just because if you just need to trust a way to keep the balances. Bitcoin, or rather, in traditional government, you just trust the system to keep the balances. It's sort of one centralized party. The bank and government team up and they keep it. So it's one person keeping the balances. In Bitcoin, anybody can keep the balances. Anybody keeps balances, and also when you send money, you need to edit the balances. So anybody is allowed to do that. And these are what's called the miners. What miners do is they are one second. So every miner, basically, if you think of everyone's balance, it's basically a giant spreadsheet of Sam has this much, Matt has this much, fucking Joe Rogan has this much, and it's just, you keep that. So in Bitcoin, every single miner keeps that spreadsheet, and every miner also updates it when the balances change. So there's not one person in charge of setting the balances, it's everybody. And what happens is it requires a lot of electricity to do this. Number one, to update the balances, but also there's just Bitcoin rewards people based on the amount of electricity they contribute. So every 10 minutes, whoever is contributing most to having this system run has the biggest chance of getting a reward of, right now it's about 6 Bitcoins every 10 minutes, which means that there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of computers throughout the world that all are like, well, I'm going to try and run this system, and then maybe I'll get the reward every 10 minutes. And many, many computers are helping do this math that makes a money system run, such as tracking the balances and letting people send each other money. And because every computer is redundantly tracking the money system, it's uncensorable. Because you can take away a computer in one side of the world and the system is like, all right, fucking fine, we have 300,000 other computers, like, tough luck. And because of that, it's uncensorable and trustable.
It can't be faked because it's all being checked.
It's all being checked, and these computers that are keeping balances and updating when someone sends money, the consensus of 50% of the computing power, or the majority of the computing power, that determines where money is sent.
Mm-hmm. One question popped up, which is almost like maybe even like too detailed. But one thing I didn't realize about mining is like the like chance involved. Like, I thought you were basically just paid out kind of like proportional to the electricity and the computing power that you put in. But it sounds like
Right.
The way it really works is that like actually it only goes to like one place at a time. So it's like, does that mean you could hypothetically be like the number 2 miner in the world and like not get anything? Like, how does that work? That like, because people, you can like mine on your own computer and you'll get a little bit. So it's like, when you're doing something like that, are you like mining through like a shared resource or something? Like if
I understand.
Is that how it works? That you like, how can you like, is there like fractional mining basically?
Yeah, there is. First, if you're number 2 in the world, then you're gonna get the mining reward. But if you're, say, maybe 500 in the world, then you're not. So what happens is people join mining pools.
Yeah.
Where you can join any pool you want, and I don't think you don't like have to actually be in that location, but it's just an agreement that if you get the reward, then you're basically just gonna get your percentage of the computing power that you put in.
Got it. Yeah.
So it's a way to do that, but without actually having it built into the protocol itself.
Right. Yeah. Now that you say mining pools, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that term. I guess that's how it mostly works. But that's crazy also to think like there must be some like big, massive operations where they're just like kind of like in-house trying to get the reward, right?
Yeah, there are big companies that'll just do it.
Yeah.
I'm not super sure on the whole mining landscape, but I know it's the power seems to be pretty distributed. Like nobody has more. Actually, I won't say numbers, but I'm pretty sure. But I'm about to. I'm pretty sure nobody has more than 10% of the share.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think like what are people's reservations that don't like if I was trying to explain it to my dad, like I just know he would think it's like just some like fairy fucking like made up shit like
Yeah.
like he didn't. I remember he wouldn't trust even doing like online banking for the longest time, and I'm like, I would try to tell him, I'm like, I feel like that's more secure than like paper and mailing, and like you should just trust like the online. But yeah, it's just such like a hurdle to explain it to people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think my website is ever going to convince your dad.
Right.
I think my website is going to convince somebody who's going to, not convince, but like educate someone who's going to spread it to someone else, and then at a certain point, maybe 50% of the world is using online banking, and your dad is like, well, everyone's using online banking, it must be safe because everyone's using it. So there's some people that are never going to just understand it, and they just need the majority to be doing it before they trust it. And I think that's more likely for someone like your dad.
I think like the fact that it is like decentralized and it is arguably way more secure, like I think if you can actually convey those things in a trustworthy way, then I think it's pretty hard to deny the whole thing. Like it can be understood if you understand how it works.
Yeah, exactly. And something I'm realizing too is my target customer, it's someone who's just getting introduced to Bitcoin, but it's also somebody that wants to go really deep. Even I would be my target customer. Because the way it's going to work is you can view the site at different levels of complexity. So if you want to go deep, you can. And like I just finished explaining exactly how the mining algorithm works. And even that is interesting. It's not just like the SHA-256 encryption algorithm. Like it's much more interesting than that because there's power dynamics involved. And I think that even people that are really entrenched in the Bitcoin community can learn, just have it click a lot more based on this description. And that's good. Number one, they get it, but also it will influence the language that they use to talk about it.
Yeah, it's going to change the way that they spread it. That's super powerful.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm also excited. Like, there's going to be ideally like very, very comprehensive sharing options, so people can share in any way that they want. Yeah, dude, it's uncomfortable to spend so much time building it because I just want it to be done, but I also really enjoy building it. Oh, do you want to talk about the Bitcoin mining algorithm though?
Go for it. Yeah.
All right. I'm actually gonna open up the site just to have it in front of me this time. I just spent the last few days writing about this. It's loading. My computer's freezing in the middle of the podcast.
Oh man, is the recording still rolling along?
Yeah, it's not. My computer didn't freeze. My browser froze. Oh, here we go. The thing's starting to move. Oh, okay. We are like a lot of the computer. Okay. Here we go. I'm like, okay. So to understand Bitcoin, you need to understand one-way encryption. To understand one-way encryption, understand this. It's a way, or I'll stop reading. I'll just try to explain it. But one-way encryption is a way that you can translate A to B, but you can't go from B to A. So let's say my password on Netflix, for example, is Austin, Texas. Then if I encrypt Austin, Texas using an encryption algorithm, let's say I choose like the SHA-256 encryption algorithm, then that will produce some random string of digits, some long ass, almost it looks like a Bitcoin address. It's just super long and gibberish. So that's one-way encryption. What's interesting is that you can go very easily from my password to the encrypted version, but you can't do it in reverse. And this is what companies do. Any smart company, if they're storing your password, they're going to encrypt it in a one-way fashion so that if a hacker gets their database, they're never going to know your original password. They're just going to know the hashed version. And there's no way for the attacker to then unhash it without trying like a fucking boatload of possibilities. That's not even like gonna happen. So that's why it happens. But Bitcoin implements one-way encryption in a really interesting way. So it basically says, hey, for the next 10 minutes, there's a goal. So let's say okay, so let's say I gave you the hashed version of my password, Austin, Texas, and it looks like gibberish to you. And I'm like, Matt, I want you to try trillions and trillions of combinations on the SHA-256 hashing algorithm, and I want you to figure out what my password is. So there's no way to do it other than just trying every single one. And I would recommend that you buy some really powerful computers for this and not just do it by hand. But you would have really powerful computers, and you'd have to try trillions of each guess you make has a 1 in 4 trillion chance of being correct. So you have to try 4 trillion guesses, probably, maybe less or more. And it's going to take you a while, but there's a lot of competition. So people have really powerful computers working for this, and they try one, and then the next, then the next, and the next. Then eventually, maybe they get it, and they say, I have the magic phrase. I know, Sam, that your password is, calling it password is misleading at this point, but I know, Sam, that your input phrase is Austin, Texas. So then the computer tells all of the other computers on the network, hey, guys, I know that the magic phrase is Austin, Texas. That's what led to the goal value. And what's cool is that the computers are all trying this, and they're like, hold up, wait a second. Let's test that out, because while it takes a while to reverse engineer it, it's incredibly easy to just test it. So they plug in Austin, Texas to the algorithm. They're like, oh yeah, shit, it does check out. Then you're almost at the point where you're going to get your about 6 Bitcoins because you won this 10-minute race of who's going to get the magic code first. You won it. So you're about to get your 6 Bitcoins, but you also have to be honest about what the new balances are. So okay, this person sent that person money and this and that, so you have to update the balances as well. So you report, number 1, I found the magic number. Number 2, these are the updated balances of everybody in the world. And then if 50% of the computers agree with you that yes, it's the magic number, and yes, it's the correct balances, then you get your reward, and then the next block starts. So it's and just before I finish this part, you might say, well, okay, next time they give me that goal that's the same as before, I'll be like, oh, well, Austin, Texas produces that. Like, easy. I just know that. But what's interesting is that the algorithm is different every single 10 minutes. So you can't just remember. And the way it works is that the previous answer influences the current answer. So let's say the next magic phrase is like San Francisco. But you would also need to know that the previous one was Austin, Texas. So you plug in the previous answer of Austin, Texas. the current answer of you try 4 million tries and then you're like, oh, maybe we'll try the phrase San Francisco. And then you do it and then that's right. And then you broadcast again. Okay, guys, I found the actual phrase. It's San Francisco this time. And because you have the previous answer and the current winning formula, then they'll be like, okay, sounds good. And then on the next thing, people have to plug in San Francisco in addition to trying every possibility. Mm-hmm. So it makes it so that this is what people call proof of work. There's no way to fake all of the tries because it's like you need to validate that you've done it, and then the last validation is vital for the current validation. So it's like this is how people convert electricity into money through Bitcoin, and at the same time they're making it so that there's tons of computers on the network and it could never get shut down.
Yeah. And it's also like, I feel like the mining explanation is really just to explain to people how this shit works. Cause like the general population is going to have zero interest in actually mining. I would think, I mean,
yeah, but once you understand how it works, it's hard to really have faith in Bitcoin if you don't understand how that works.
Agreed. Totally. Like but I think like, yeah, making it clear that like you just this is just to understand how it works. Like you don't need to like know this shit or do anything really. This is just how it works behind the scenes.
Do you have does anything not click for you?
Honestly, it does for me because I've been like peripherally aware of this stuff for like so long at this point. Like I've, learned more, forgot about Bitcoin for 3 years, came back. Like, so like it all is like vaguely familiar to me in a way.
Right.
Like not those like nuanced details, but no, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, pretty straight. Like it makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I think the only loose end that I haven't addressed on the website is like, well, how do the miners know that if Sam sent money to Matt, if Sam sent $100 to Matt, then how do the miners know that it was actually Sam that sent the money to Matt? How do they know whether it's real? And that's a pretty simple explanation. It's just I can like sign the transaction in a way. Like I have basically a secret little password phrase that controls access to the money that I have, and I am able to move money and prove that I like it's just an encryption thing that I'll have to explain.
Yeah, I wonder if it could be important to like note on like the much more like basic end of the spectrum is like when you say like everyone can see the balances and all of that, it's not like your information is public though. It's like you're just seeing like all this like data, like, oh, like this transaction occurred. It's not like Sam Feldman paid $3, like it's not like totally like that. It's like it's all through like the obscure Bitcoin addresses and like transaction IDs and stuff like that, right? Like it's not really like a traceable thing, which is also like kind of one of the features of crypto is it's like
it can be traceable, but your Bitcoin address doesn't have your name in it, but your Coinbase account might have your name in it.
Yeah.
So if someone can link, it's possible for people to link it.
But like, yeah, is that like do people worry about that? Like say like, could somebody just like figure out how much money is in your bank account in a way? Like
if they knew what your Bitcoin address is, then yes.
But you can also have a lot of different addresses.
Yeah, for sure. You can have a lot of addresses. It's just you have to. It's whoever you get Bitcoins from, you have to be able to trust.
Whoever. So
it's like if I get them from Coinbase, then they know who I am.
If you wait, you mean like the platform, or you mean like every transaction you like send to and from? Like if I send you Bitcoin or you send me Bitcoin, like do we have to fully trust each other on everything or just on that transaction? Or is that even a logical question to ask?
I don't understand the question.
Well, you said you have to trust each other. So what I mean is
Well,
like,
no, I don't. Oh, no, with your identity. So if I send you, I think it comes down to like when you're converting your dollars to Bitcoin, or how are you
yeah,
getting it? Because if you can either get it by mining, but most people get it by on an exchange, where they say I am Sam, and
right.
if you get it on an exchange, then the exchange is going to know what address that started at and whose identity that was, and then they're going to be able to track it. And maybe if I send it, I was like, who knows? Like, once you send it once, then it's like, was this still Sam controlling it, or is it Matt? Like, nobody really knows. So it seems like it gets obscured, but it's not totally private.
Yeah.
It just
No,
depends.
that makes sense. And like, honestly, like for full adoption, like it probably won't be as private as some people would even want. And I think that's just like part of it. You know, like eventually, like it's not fully about overthrowing the government and paying zero taxes and like all of this
Right.
stuff necessarily, right? Like it could be it would still integrate in somehow.
Yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable that this could live alongside the US dollar. I think that the main benefit is by creating another financial system that where inflation works, where inflation is not owned by one central party, then it just creates accountability for the other system. And knowing it's like, if I have a girlfriend and at the same time, like, maybe that's not, I'll fuck that example, but like,
I want to know where that was going.
if like if maybe dating is a better example. It's like, if you're dating and you have no other options, then the person's going to be able to manipulate you because you're just going to want it to work out. But if you have two options, then both of them are going to be better because of it.
I get what you're saying. Like maybe this just forces the dollar to be better, right?
Exactly.
Because it's like for every dollar that is like converted to Bitcoin, you're basically like increasing the value of Bitcoin and decreasing the value of the dollar. So it's like a vote in one direction, right?
Yeah.
So it's like as Bitcoin becomes more powerful, the dollar becomes less powerful potentially, like at scale at least. So yeah, like if things start to like swing towards that direction, it puts pressure on the dollar to be like, well, like, hey, like, well, we're doing this now or something, you know? Which
Like, it's backed by gold again or something.
yeah. Or changing the inflation policies.
Yeah. Or we're gonna stop printing trillions of dollars because we fucking decided to.
It's a mess. I really love. Maybe we should like get into. I love like just the way of talking about it as a peaceful protest. Like, can you explain like that sort of train of thought?
Yeah. Yeah, like whatever I forget exactly how I said it the other day, but whatever you're putting your money in, you're buying into that system. And like we're saying, if you're able to store your value in something other than your own currency, such as Bitcoin, then it's a protest, because the government wants you to keep your money in dollars, but it's also totally allowed to keep it in Bitcoin. So in that sense, if you put it in Bitcoin, you're saying you're taking some of that power back. It's a vote, in a sense, for what you think a currency should be, and it's a vote for a new type of system. Like, right now, the government's printing 2% of money every year, and if they're printing 2% of money, it's just a complicated way of saying they're taking 2% of money.
Yeah,
because
they're devaluing 2%.
Yeah, maybe taking is a harsh word, but they're creating it from people's money. Like, they're devaluing everyone's money by 2%. So it just proportionally gets taken from everybody. And what they're doing with that money is it's basically going from one's bank account to the banks that are going to then loan it out to whoever needs it. And in this sense, it's like your money is disintegrating by 2% every year, and that 2% goes to a fund that's going to loan it out to people that need it. So you understand why it works like that, because number one, it encourages you to spend your money up front as opposed to saving it because it loses value. So it encourages people to spend and to stimulate the economy. And it also allows people to get loans for things. But at the same time, it's like the entire system is backed by debt, is backed by loans, and there's much more debt than there is actually ability to pay it off. So people are like stuck in this system, and there's no way to pay off all the debt. And when it starts to become an issue, they just print more money, so you get a loan. So the system is just loaning itself money to pay off its past loans, but the total amount of loans is more, always by design, more than the actual amount of money. So it's never going to get actually paid off, and it's just set up in this strange way. And I think it's like, and if you devalue the dollar, then you devalue the power of the 2% of inflation every year. You gain a lot of power by storing. Is that a peaceful protest? Do you have any questions?
No, I just love the framework, the framing of it. Like, it's I mean, it pushes. It's like we were saying a few minutes ago. I guess actually, it's like it puts pressure on the other system. It's like it swings the pendulum towards more value for Bitcoin, less for the dollar. So, like, by buying Bitcoin, you're like voting for a system that is not manipulated in a way you don't approve is not, potentially corrupt in ways that you don't trust, is not being devalued against your will. All of these things. It's like, in a way, it's like you have more ownership over your money this way, like with.
Yeah. People call it separation of state and money.
I like that. And like, I think like with that comes like, is there the thought of like no taxes and stuff like that? And I don't know like how that works itself out, like with like money being separated from government.
Yeah.
I think that is like something that we just have to like see how it like plays out in like little steps.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we're like, if so in Bitcoin, you would still have to pay taxes, but it would mean that the government can't actually just take the money without your permission. So it would mean you have to pay taxes, but it's optional as opposed to compulsory.
Yeah.
And then the thought is, but are people just naturally self-interested? And if they don't have to, then they're just not going to. And it's like, that seems very unlikely. Like, I want roads to exist, and I understand my place in the system. Down for roads.
Well, I think it depends on like the penalty, like whether it's forced out of your account or you have to click a button to send it. It can still be compulsory either way. It's just one way it's like automated, and one way like you have to like approve it or whatever. Because I mean, I think if it was still like of like complete breaking of the law, then people would click the button. But if it was like, you can choose to or you don't have to, I think a lot of people would not pay taxes, for sure. You don't think so?
I don't know. I just wonder what the effects would be. I somehow feel like humanity is just so resilient that we would all figure out a way. I mean, I think like you have to pay taxes on your like, I guess it depends on the penalty, but I don't know. I think that I'm pretty optimistic.
Yeah, I think it'll be figured out. But it's that that's definitely an area that like I don't fully see how it like plays out yet.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think, as I've been researching for this, there's no guarantee, and it sounds kind of crazy to say, but I don't think it's impossible for Bitcoin to become one of the most powerful worldwide currencies. Oh, and then your question, like, why Bitcoin and not something else?
Back, yeah.
Bitcoin has the most, I would say, decentralization by far. Bitcoin is also the invention that actually sparked this whole movement. But like, I looked it up. Like, for Bitcoin to take 50% of the network's power, you would need to spend like $300,000 in a day or 10 minutes or something. And for the next most powerful one, you'd need to spend like 20,000 or something. So like, the security of Bitcoin is just so much greater because all of this energy is being spent to secure the system, that to take control of the system, you would need to expend just such a huge amount of energy that it doesn't make any sense. And even if it did, even if the U.S. government got a bunch of Bitcoin mining rigs and then just instantly unleashed them, then the community would understand what went on, and there would be a change to it. There would be a quick change made. So I think that Bitcoin has the most decentralization of power, and it's also like Bitcoin, I think it tries to be, it's political by nature, but it tries to be just very, very simple. Like, just if you send your money, it will be received, and it's they optimize for security, number one. They don't optimize for low fees. They don't optimize for like quick transactions. They optimize for security, number one. And it seems to me that Bitcoin, the brand of it is freedom, and there's almost this unspoken agreement among the people that are building all of the tech in crypto, that Bitcoin is the one. Like, CZ Binance from Binance is big on Bitcoin. Jack, CEO of Twitter, his entire Twitter bio is just Bitcoin. Naval, who's like a thought leader in Silicon Valley, is into Bitcoin. CEO of Coinbase is very bullish on Bitcoin. I think you'd be hard to find almost any crypto exchange where the CEO is not trying everything to make Bitcoin be that currency. So it feels like there's this like strong community behind it that I don't see among anything else. I would say probably with the Ethereum being the exception.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine like where they all fall into place. I mean, there's obviously like hundreds or thousands of others too, and it's like, why like bother with all this for people?
Like, people want to find something special. They don't like. Yeah. So
I mean, maybe there's different uses for particular ones with like particular types of technology integrated or something, but yeah, I feel like I don't know. It's hard to say, like, because like they all kind of use that technology you explained roughly, right? Or are some like very different?
There's a few that are very different, such as like, if anyone wants to look up like IOTA or Nano, those work completely differently. But yeah, they're just different. Like, the Bitcoin trying the different math problems, that's called proof of work. There's another one called proof of stake, where the power is decentralized just based on how much of the coin you own. So there's different governance mechanisms, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and people will get rich in the process probably.
Yeah, time will tell. I mean, I really think like people. Yeah, you don't want to do it trying to get rich. You want to do it trying to understand the effect of like, what is money and how does that impact the society, and like, what is, like, nobody thinks about like, money is an invention. Money is an invention. Because of money, we don't have to like trade goats between each other, and that's so great because you'd have to like have a thing hooked to the back of your car to carry goats in, and you'd like have to have a leash for them, and like, what if it's an old goat? Like, how does that impact the value? Whereas money, It's very easy. It's very easy. But, oh, did anyone ever tell you that your money is like this bucket where 2% leaks out every year to the point where it's kind of fucking you over the long term, but also it's like you have so many other things to do that you don't even think twice about it.
Yeah.
Oh, but there's this money out there. There's this money called Bitcoin. That's a bucket that doesn't have any holes in it.
That's crazy. I admit, I think I have thought very little about inflation being a problem, like, ever, because it just seems like this, like, truth of the world. It's just like a fact that, like, this is the way it is. So, like, even for me, it's like, oh, you see things and it's like, oh, like, you know, the stock market averaged 10% a year or whatever. Like, yeah, 10% is great, but it's like, really, you're also losing 2% every year. So
Yeah.
making 2% is breaking even.
Yeah, dude. And inflation also, it affects the poorest people the most, which is, I think, maybe one of the most fucked up parts about it. Because if you don't have money to invest, then your money is just going to lose its value in your bank account. And the people that are investing in the stock market are the people that aren't losing to inflation. So it really just gets offloaded onto the working class.
Whoa. You're right. Because, yeah, like, the more money you have, the more most likely you're outweighing inflation somehow. If you have, like, any amount of money invested in anything, you're probably generally beating inflation. Whereas if if you have almost nothing, then you are just losing on inflation. That's it. That's the only side of the equation.
Yeah, man. Imagine, like, if you can, like, people that just try and save, if you're able to only save 2% of a year every year, then you're going to get fucked. You're not going to get any more value at all. So it's just like, I just hate how it's so misunderstood. And I feel like people, you shouldn't need to go to stocks to have money that doesn't lose its value every year. And also, if you have money that doesn't lose its value every year, then you're going to be a lot less frantic to spend it.
That's relaxing.
Like, and people are like, oh, but the economy is going to stop. It's like, motherfucker, maybe the useless shit in the economy is going to stop.
Yeah, there's a lot of useless shit. Fuck, dude. Every time we talk about this, I'm just like, all right, like, how much can I possibly just, like, put into Bitcoin right now? It's just like, yeah, it's so fascinating. It's endlessly fascinating.
And you're following it, so you'll be able to, if it starts to go up, you'll be right there at the button.
Yeah. I mean, I've got some, but nothing crazy. But
yeah, I don't know. And, like, I talk about all this, and it's crazy. Like, I've learned so much about this, and I'm really confident, and I think maybe it's going to be the worldwide currency, but there's still so much going on that there's no way for me to know 100%. So we'll just see what happens. Like, if I would, no matter what happens, what I am almost 100% sure of is that if it's not Bitcoin, it's going to be something.
Right. See, so that's why I asked that question, is because like trying to discern like how much of the certainty is to Bitcoin as compared to just as it is to crypto. Because I, like, you know, I'll talk to people and just be like, yeah, like, I totally understand why crypto makes sense, but it's like, how do I know if like Bitcoin is gonna implode? Like maybe Bitcoin implodes, but crypto wins, and it's like whatever else. Like, it's possible. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's like a fair and large concern that a lot of people have. Me too. Like, you know, like, oh, should I be like splitting amongst several different coins that seem the most likely to be the next one, like the global currency? You know, like, is it like it's almost like hedging your bets too. It's like, well, because if you're only banking on Bitcoin and then it's wrong, well, then what's the saddest part of that is that you were right in concept. You were just like wrong in like which you allocated to.
Yeah, I'd say there's a few that are worth checking out. I don't want to like go through all of them just because it's up to people to do their own research. But once you start learning about it, you can tell which projects are legit, which projects are really trying, and also which projects if they succeed, is this going to mean that the coin itself is going to appreciate in value? So in terms of investing, it's definitely possible to allocate. But if you're just saying, well, I'm going to buy some Cardano because Cardano is a cool name and my friend bought Cardano, then fucking don't do it. Like you've got to understand the technology. And I think that's what is the most important thing.
That's funny because I was pretty hyped on Cardano a few years ago. I was like, Cardano's the shit, dude.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not going to succeed. I'm just saying it's probably not going to succeed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't fucking understand Cardano. I don't know. Maybe, you know what I think is bullshit, though? Like, everyone's like, I think people grossly overestimate the value of the, air quotes, better technology. You know, maybe it's better technology, but blockchains are not technology companies. They're community companies. And that, fucking take all that back. They're not companies. But
it didn't even register in my head. I like understood it, but
they're not technologies, they're communities.
Yeah. That's true. It's like, you know, when they say like, oh, well, like this one has better tech, it's kind of like, it's like selling, it's like when you like sell on the features, you know, like,
yeah.
it's like features, like, well, it can do this 5% faster, but like, yeah, but like the you know, nobody uses the product. Right.
100%. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
And people also say, this is something else I address on the website. People say, well, nobody uses Bitcoin. It's like, no, you don't understand what using a currency is. Using a currency doesn't mean to spend it at Walmart. It means to store your value. So a currency, let's say there's two big values of it. It's store of value and a medium of exchange. And without store of value, it's worthless, because if you go to your bank account and you get your $100 to buy a $100 microphone, and in the 2 weeks that you got from when you got your 100 to the buying it, the money lost all of its value, then it's like you're fucked. So store value is most important. And then after store value, it's actually easy, because people say, well, what can you buy with Bitcoin? You can buy anything with Bitcoin. You just need to translate it to dollars first, and you can translate it to dollars pretty easily.
Fair point. Yeah. Yeah, I think like the most prevalent concern with it as a stored value, though, is it's like you're unlikely to put a massive proportion of your net worth into something that could shoot up or shoot down. Like, it doesn't feel stable enough to do that.
You also don't have to, though. I don't.
Yeah,
think
but like, but what if you like wanted to? Like, because in theory, it's such a perfect. But what I mean is, like, it's such a perfect form of stored value, yet it's unstable. So you can't use it as the perfect form of stored value until it's stable. Yeah. You're saying just you would like it to pass the test of time. I'm just saying that, like, you wouldn't. It's like too much of, like, for example, you put your money into a savings account.
Right.
You're losing 2% a year, right? And maybe you're getting back like 0.2% or whatever.
But you're not losing 30% a year.
You're losing 30% a year, or it's not losing 70% in a day or something. Like, there's just like less risk of like insane stuff that I think is what would keep people from, you know, over investing like a disproportional amount of their like wealth into something unstable.
Yeah, man. I think like that's why I think it's not good to think of it as an investment, because an investment, sort of the meaning of investment is buy a thing, then keep it for a bit, and then sell it. But if you're thinking of it not as an investment, but just as money, then it's like, okay, well, it's money now. So you don't have to keep all of your money in it, but but I think seeing it as stored wealth is different than seeing it as an investment. I think it's like, oh, this is secure. This is the safest place to store my money, except for the fact that it could drop so much in value. So that's why I think it's like tough to understand how it will become a trusted way to store value until the risk of drop off
goes down substantially. Like regardless of if you think it's going to go up, like forget the possibility of it being an investment or going up. It's like the reason that you feel unlikely to lock up your money there is because it could drop. So I feel like that's something
It's
that
because
almost,
you don't believe in it. I'm not, dude. I'm
almost
not
doesn't-
saying to put all your money into it. I'm just saying if you really truly believed in it, then you would.
but it almost doesn't
Right,
matter
isn't
what
that-
you believe. It matters what happens, like with everybody.
Right, and that's what we're dancing around the same thing with different words. But if you believed that it was going to happen with everybody, then you would put your money into it.
Right. But that's like, I guess what I'm saying is like, I would want that to happen if you were to say like, use it as a savings account. Cause like you can't really use it as like a savings account until it's like something that is widely stable.
You can
Right.
do whatever you want. I mean,
I
Like-
no, like I feel like I'm not conveying this properly. Like
no, I get it. I get
you-
it. You don't want it to crash. But I'm saying that like if you really understand what it is, there's a risk of something I haven't thought of. And that's why I think that you shouldn't put all your money into it.
Yeah. But I mean, if it really succeeds in the way we're talking about, then
Yeah.
the effective use of it would be to put all your money into it as a form of stored wealth.
Right.
But that's like kind of like a gap right now is like the
I mean,
best
we're not going to go
use-
from like 1% to 100 overnight.
Yeah.
It's just like this thing is just it could like in that theory. I don't think we ever even need to ask the question because you go from 1% to 2% to 1% to 2% to 3% to 2%. Like it's so slow on the ups and downs that you're not even going to know. Like I heard a good point. Like when was that flipping point when everybody went from feature phones to smartphones? Like, you remember when the iPhone came out and nobody really had it, and now it's like everyone has smartphones. And it's like, it's hard to quite remember when that point came, but somehow it happened, and I think there's a chance that it'll just happen like that. Like people just, this is what it like. People are opening their minds to it. I even see it now. Like, it seems like the tide is shifting. I was even like. I had a call with Twitter ads yesterday and talking about how to advertise this website on Twitter and if there's any like rules that I need to be aware of. And even on the call, they were kind of saying like, yeah, like it's clear that it seems that the tide has shifted a bit on this, but the policies just take time to catch up to that. And it's, like I feel what they feel. Like it feels like people are more open to it again. It feels like people are more aware of inflation now than ever. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like look what just happened with the stimulus and everything. It's like people are just shocked that so much money was just created out of nothing, right?
100%.
But it's not really
yes.
created out of nothing. It's just changing the denominator.
Yeah, they shot the fishing rod and it went directly into your bank account. Oh, it got 2% of it. More than
Dude,
that.
what I mean, wait. Like,
I need to know these numbers.
does that mean it's 2% on average or it's 2% fixed?
On
'Cause,
average.
like, okay, because like, so what happened this year? Like fucking 10%?
I think it was like 20 maybe.
Holy shit.
I might be totally wrong, but I think it was like a lot.
So 20%.
There's not a good way to even know what the money supply is. I get so frustrated, but like
Yeah.
trying to dude, I don't know. I really don't even know, so I'm not going to pretend to know, but I think it was a lot.
That's wild. That's insane. So we all just like lost 20% of our money.
Whatever the number is, yeah. Maybe it's I mean, you
Right, maybe it's only
definitely more than
5. That's
2%,
insane. Yeah, as long as it's like
I
higher
think
than
it's
2%.
yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, man. But dude, we can yeah, I feel like Bitcoin has this thing where it's really powerful and it's a revolution and it's going to change the world and it's going to make people free and this and that, and then still you can talk about it for like 30 minutes and just be so tired of it. I'm not saying I'm there, but I'm just like
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I also think like, you know, people aren't going to have to like understand it to the level that you understand it, you know?
No, but
like,
more people are going to have to understand it to the level that I understand it.
for sure. to spread
because
the
that's
word.
the seed of all of it.
Exactly. But like, I think the general user and adopter is just going to need to like trust that somebody like you knows what they're talking about.
Right. And if there's more people like me, then the confidence in the entire system just amplifies. And right now there's not enough people that understand it at all. So in a sense, even now that I'm thinking about it, the biggest point of the website is to get people off the ground with it, but also it's to get people that have been thinking about it for years to have better language.
Yeah, that's really valuable. And I think the shift that's important too is there's been such a focus on the price, such a focus on like hey, like you should check out this Bitcoin thing, like investment advice, like oh you're gonna make 200% on this, versus just like hey, like consider this as like imagine that you were pitching like a product, like a business, like this is just a system, like this isn't about like oh, like I think this shit's gonna go way up, dude. Like you should invest in Bitcoin. It's just like actually consider the thing and not only as an investment opportunity. I think almost nobody like thinks about that.
Yeah, it's like they're thinking about the effect of it compared to what causes the effect.
Yeah, they're just like my neighbor bought at 20K and then it went down to 3K.
Yeah,
but like
I feel like I've probably said this a few times, but I get so tired of these headlines that are like, Bitcoin crashed from 20K to 3K. It's like, oh yeah, did it crash from 20K to 3K, or did it rise from $200 to $3,000 over the last like 14 months? Like,
yeah,
it's just
right, like 20 to 3. I mean, like
it's just crazy. Hold on, I gotta switch my AirPods.
Okay. But we are in a brief intermission. As you good?
All right, can I hear you say something?
Yeah. Saying something, talking. I can hear you.
Let me get on Zoom. I think it's gonna work in a sec. Select this. Oh, here we go. Okay, I think it should work now. Say something.
All right. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, it's like it went up from $200 to $3,000, and for 3 weeks, a bunch of people were like, "Oh, Bitcoin is a thing that you buy and get rich off of." So then, when it was $3,000, they bought it, and they went to $4,000, and then 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, and they're like, "Wow, it's really this thing works." It's apparently the goal is to get rich, and it's been working really well. And then they tell their friends and their uncle and their fucking mom, like everyone's buying it, and nobody understands it. And what happens, the reason that this just doesn't go on to infinity is that it hits 20,000 and then it hits 18,000. And then mom is like, I think that I got lied to. I'm going to sell it. And then it's like a reverse pyramid. And then your uncle says, I got lied to at 6,000, 16,000. And then the other person says, and then it goes to 12,000. And then everyone's like, shit, it's cheap now. And then they buy it and it goes to like 16, and then it goes to 10, and then it like goes to 12 and 8, and then it goes to 6, and then it goes to 3, and everyone thinks it's just died forever, and then it's rebounding again. And it's just, I think people need to see the big picture.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. I think like, yeah, people just see it as this weird thing that could shoot up and not like what it really is.
Yeah. Time will tell.
It will, but I'm definitely inspired to dig deeper into it. Every time we talk about Bitcoin, I'm like, dude, yeah, it's like so obvious.
Yeah, man, it's going to be really exciting. And we'll see what happens. It could be cool to listen back to this conversation or whatever ends up happening. And I'm sure there'll be a lot to learn from it.
Dude, I would even love to do like a YouTube video, like with you, like actually explaining Bitcoin. Yeah. I would be down for that.
Dude, I think it'd be great. I'm definitely down. Maybe once I launch the website, we can do that.
Exactly. Yeah, it could be cool. I would be happy to.
Dude, hell yeah. Obviously that would be great for me too.
Yeah, I'll definitely be spreading the word on it. I'm sure it'll be, I mean, I've seen the behind the scenes. It's already great, but I'm excited to like see like where it's at when you actually like push the button, you know?
I'm hoping to get there soon. Like, I think that the thing that loads when you actually open the site, the What is Bitcoin page, is probably the most important thing to have be really good. And then the other sections, there's like questions and how to buy, and the community, and quotes and how to buy, and those are probably I'm hoping that they'll be made faster.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. I mean, the how it works is like you're like writing a creative piece almost. Like you have to figure out a way
What
of
is it?
explaining things. Whereas the other things are like kind of just like curating links or like quotes or I think that'll go a lot quicker.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Damn.
And talking about like having a big vision for it, I feel that with this, like I guess earlier I was like, don't forget about all the numbers, but I understand, like, with this, I'm like, I'm proceeding as if it might become one of the most popular websites in the world.
Whoa.
And not to say that that's going to happen, because I can't control that, but that's how I'm proceeding with it. Because in my mind, Bitcoin is super interesting, and if somebody can explain it super well in a way that I understand, that I get excited about, then that really moves the needle for me. So yeah, it's like by proceeding in that way, I feel like I think of different ideas than if I was like trying to, let's just get it to a couple people.
Totally. Yeah. No, I think like the massive vision makes a lot of sense for it. But and then like also like how you're like not thinking of it as a business at the same time. Like it's like, oh, it could be huge, but it's like not even thinking about like how to like monetize really.
Yeah.
But I think that would happen.
It would happen
naturally.
so easily, which is one of the reasons I don't have to think about it. But it's really just, it's not the point of it. The point of it is just intrinsic. It's this thing that could really change the world. So I just want people to know what it is.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Cool. I'm excited to see it up.
Thank you.
Probably had a good spot to wrap up. That was definitely Bitcoin heavy, but I loved that conversation.
Yeah, man. It's a good time for it.
Yeah. Were there any, like, before we kind of like, was there anything we like really wanted to get to otherwise, or good place to cut it off?
Yeah, I think it's a good place.
Let's do it.
Nothing else.
Cool.
All right. Cool.
Thanks guys for listening.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening if you're at this point.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right. Peace.
Peace.